also don't also agree with. But for the political debate, so the majority of what Trump was, the statements he was saying, were majority lies compared to Harris. And the reason I researched it, on politifact.com. So what do you think? Why do you think that like people should vote for Trump if the majority of stuff that comes out of his mouth is lies?
Well, again, let's just take one for example. They were fact checking him with fake stuff last night, and so you can't trust PolitiFact. For example, they said nowhere in the country is late term abortion legal. That's not true. In 9 states, late term abortion is legal, right? And so they weren't even fact checking it correctly. And so Donald Trump might not be as precise on the facts as you and I would like. For example, he said the governor of West Virginia said you could deliver a baby, make the baby comfortable, and shoot the baby. They call that a lie. He's the governor of Virginia. Okay, West Virginia, Virginia. Is that a lie or is that just memory recall?
I think it's just depending on how he says it. It comes off and sometimes it comes off the ways just way radical, too far out.
But let's focus less on the rhetoric. When he was president, was he radical?
Well, for example, like "Make America Great Again," that was a term that he took off from Adolf Hitler.
Well, Hitler said "Make
That was
America
a
Great
slogan.
Again."
No, he said "Make Germany Great Again."
Okay, so Hitler also had a dog. So does everyone have a dog? He got that. Hitler was a vegetarian. So are all vegetarians Nazis? It's a logical fallacy, right?
I got you. I see what you're saying.
Just to say that just because Hitler did it.
Well, what do you know? When you don't have the facts on your side, when you present stupidity in your argument, and you know you're losing it right away, even before the argument even begins, you bring out your political playing card deck, and you throw everything out. Well, the R card, we threw that card out before. The racist card didn't work. Threw the B card out. Bigot, you're a bigot. That didn't work. I card, insurrectionist, that didn't work. Oh, we're going to let's throw out the H card, Hitler. There we go. Throw out the N card, Nazi. Put those on the table. And Charlie just absolutely decimates this. Again, with the stupid, the fallacies these guys bring. Oh, you know what? He did that. Hitler said, make Germany great again. I believe that it was Clinton that also used a similar word phrasing, make America great again, in one of his speeches, if I'm not mistaken. But if some people out there can double check me on that, I'd appreciate it. Put it down in the comments below. I believe he did say something to that extent. So this kid here, again, that's what happens when you're woke. That's what happens when you're a social justice warrior. That's what happens when you're a virtue signaling idiot, a VCI. Anyways, let's get more as Charlie Kirk is going to school this kid because, as Charlie Kirk says, you're getting scammed, kid, in terms of your education if this is the crap that you believe. Let's see how Charlie handles this. Let's go.
Can do those things sense. Hitler loved classical music, for example. But so what is Make America Great Again? Why are so many of your fellow friends wearing this? Here's why. And it's a good question because you're coming out of this in good faith. It's because the people wearing these MAGA hats in this audience that are sitting through this, they know that they're about to enter into a country when they graduate that is far worse off than what their parents had. And that is deeply unjust.
And how do you know that?
From every possible metric. From
Absolutely.
to income levels, to crime, to depression, to suicide, anxiety, alcohol addiction, drug addiction, every objective measurement that this generation is facing is worse off than their parents. This generation is more likely to kill themselves, more likely to get addicted to hard drugs, more likely to check out of society. Every possible metric that you look at, from misery index, from earning money, from disposable income, from money in the bank.
Let me ask you this. Then, did you truly think, deep in the bottom of your heart, that Trump handled the COVID situation very well?
I think honestly there were too many restrictions. My issue with Trump is that we never should have locked down the country. We never should have made the vaccine. Instead, we should have trusted people with the Agency for Early Interventions and never should have locked down schools. So I come after it from the other side.
He didn't care about the CDC, and the growth was just was it how many millions of people?
More people died of COVID under Biden than Trump. However, the CDC should earn our trust. You know, it was the CDC that called ivermectin horse dewormer. The CDC said that we need to mask up, and then they admitted, oh, masks have utility. The CDC said stay 6 feet away from each other, and now they came out 3 years later, oh, we just made that up. Literally, they just said, we just made it up out of nowhere.
Well, it's kind of like trial and error to figure out how to get to a point where
Well,
everybody's
no, hold on a
safe.
second. Well, that's interesting. Is it the government's role to keep you safe from an invisible virus or to protect your freedom? What is the role of government?
Both. To preserve and
To protect you from the
to
flu?
serve and protect, yeah.
That's interesting. So under that belief, what liberty is then acceptable? Because, for example, driving caused 55,000 deaths a year. Should we ban cars because the government should keep us safe?
But there's regulations that's behind that.
No, 55,000 people with regulations die on the road every year. Let's just ban cars because we must stay safe.
Because nobody's perfect, though. That's the thing. No one's perfect. People drink and drive. People smoke and drive.
Right, and nobody's perfect. Someone's going to spread the flu to their friend, or someone's going to be overweight and get the flu.
It's not about protecting it completely. It's about containing it.
Well, but so that is a very typical and dangerous central planning desire that
Why is
we
that?
can contain an epidemiological disaster. Instead, the countries that did the best with COVID, like Sweden, had no lockdowns, had early interventions, and they had herd immunity. What we did was the worst thing. We shut down schools, and the CDC told us to shut down schools. We never should have. You guys probably missed your prom, homecoming, and you saw friends kill themselves because of these lockdowns. One of the greatest mistakes in American history. And by the way, you guys, I hope, never took the because the and our government lied to us and committed human rights violations.
I'm pretty sure.
You know, folks, if you're wondering why you're hearing those sentences sort of being bleeped out, I think that was done obviously by Charlie, because how are you going to get through the YT algorithms if they pick that thing up in terms of, because there's still censorship going on in terms of with YT. I mean, it's just there. And this kid, it's just amazing how these kids are. They just like sheep, lemmings, off the cliff. Follow. Government says so, that's fine. But see, right now, you're young. You have time to be stupid and idiotic and moronic. You have time to follow idiocy. You have time to follow stupidity. You have time to follow moronicity. You have time to do all this. As this kid gets older, hopefully decides to get married and has kids, I guarantee you when he's in his 40s and 50s, his outlook, he's going to take a look back at this tape and he's going to go, is there any way I can scrub that from the historical file, the historical video files? Because he's going to say, God almighty, was I an absolute moron? What the hell was I thinking back then? But they can. No worries. He's getting, if someone's paying for his education, is it coming through grants, scholarship, parents, where's whatever. If it's coming a third party, he doesn't care. He's not paying taxes right now. Just going to school, having fun, getting good grades, hoping to get a good job. Those are the things, but the thing is that's why you see these other kids that are out there that are wearing the MAGA hats. They're at least, they know what's happening out there in the real world. They know what it's like in terms of what they said, trying to find a great job in this economy. Not too often, not too many people doing it, unless you're part of that, if you're like in medicine, if you're part of this in the STEM fields. And even there, maybe not as big of, in terms of the hiring in those fields too, because it's very, very competitive. Attorneys, lawyers. Do you know how many lawyers right now are really not making it? Unless you're, coming from the Ivy Leagues and you're getting at those really top positions. But how many top positions are available in places like, in those huge cities like New York City or out in LA maybe or Houston or Dallas or some of these huge metropolitan areas where, you know what, the job openings might be there for high powered attorneys, or they want to hire these young kids coming out of colleges for high powered attorneys, but there's competition for that as well. So that's happening in this. Kid saying, could you give us some metrics as to what you're talking about? And he said, every conceivable metric out there is showing that today's generation, as they're finishing school and entering into the workforce, probably is not going to be better off than their parents' generation or their grandparents' generation. And that never occurred before. It was always where every generation said the next generation is going to be so much better than our generation. And that was a good thing to happen. And that's not happening now. Let's continue on with this discussion.
Trump lied and pushed it off like it wasn't a big deal of COVID.
Well, no. In fact, it's the opposite. He was the one that was pushing for 15 days to slow the spread, and he was the CDC allowed this. So you would have liked a stronger response to COVID.
Explain that.
Would you have liked, for example, in the state of New York, where you weren't allowed to leave your house?
If it's protecting me and protecting other people, yeah, I would.
So that we have a worldview difference. The government has no right to tell me that I can't leave my home.
I see what you're saying on that point. That point I say it. Like the rights.
Jameson, famously.
Yes. But
Yeah.
it's just for safety. It's precaution.
Do you think the government ever might lie to you?
Well, the government always lies to us. How do we know what's right then? It's like you said, it's
Bingo.
brainwash.
You must use wisdom and prudence, and you must become a sovereign, informed.
You've got to use your effing brain. You can't be an idiot. You can't be a freaking moron. I know you're a college student, for crying out loud. But can you use some of those brain cells to think for yourself? You just said yourself, well, the government, they do lie to us. I mean, who do you know? How do you believe what's going on out there? Hopefully, you're going to college spending a boatload of money. Hopefully, God, gave you some brain cells to use for yourself, the common sense, for crying out loud. I weep for the kids of the future. You weep for our future generations. It's amazing. It really, really, truly is amazing how idiotic they act and they sound and they talk. It's incredible.
Citizen and not trusting of the Anthony Fauci's of the world, be able to come to your own conclusions using reason.
Let me ask you this. Are you based off facts or opinions?
Of course, facts. But more importantly than facts, wisdom. What is the difference? And I'm not putting you on the spot. This is important. What is the difference between wisdom and knowledge?
So wisdom, knowledge is knowing, and wisdom is experience.
Maybe. Again, it's not a pop quiz,
Yeah.
but it's very important. This is why colleges are such a problem right now. They're lacking of wisdom. Wisdom is the understanding of things that never change.
Yeah.
How do you get? It's okay. Yeah. Wisdom is you get from great books, experience, or being around very wise people. That's why older people then have wisdom. So wisdom is what you use when a crisis unfolds. You don't use a bunch of facts you learned. Oh, well, the CDC says it's Instead, we must ask the deeper questions. Who should be protected first and foremost? We failed during COVID. During COVID, we said old people need to be protected. Children should be protected first and foremost. Since when did we have this idea that we should sacrifice the kids for the adults?
Valid.
Right? That's what we did. Secondly, we use wisdom to ask the question of what is the balance between liberty and safety? Should we close every business just to prevent the disease from being spread? Anthony Fauci said, quote, if just one life is spared, then it is all worth it. You know that's rubbish. It's insane.
Bullshit.
You
That's
cannot
pure
have a free
bullshit.
society and not also have a lot of negative, unfortunate, and tragic events. You even admitted that earlier. But wisdom is how we determine that, we navigate those. And our leaders are lacking of wisdom. Why are they lacking wisdom, everybody? Because wisdom begins with the fear of the Lord. As America becomes...
There it is, folks. Charlie broke it down. Wisdom, knowledge. I would add one more thing, as I said. Common sense. Maybe that's a part of that or whatever. There's a lot of people out there that may not be book smart. They may have not gone to higher education. They may not have a college degree from a major university or any university, but they have common sense. Many old people out there, folks, old people. That's why people want to use the wisdom of older people. And then you yourself, you take that and you say to yourself, there is something, folks, there is something in the human DNA, in the human brain, that there's a voice out there that talks to you. You want to call it whatever you want, something innate, your soul. There's something in there that gives you an idea, right from wrong, what makes sense, what is of value, what you can use in a crisis situation that's going to get you out of that situation. And then their same voice tells you what's just absolutely moronic, what's not right at all. There is something there in like 98% of the people, I'd say. And as Charlie mentioned, wisdom, knowledge, common sense. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasser Shake Show. I'm your host. My name is Dr. Nasser. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, like, share, and follow. Show know what to do. Comment below. Share with us. How'd you think Charlie handled this? What'd you think of the student that was there? Take a look at our video links here and here. My final point, as always, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.